here I am, running with two gimbals from DJI, the DJI RS3 Mini and the DJI newly released RS4. Which one is better? Which one is right for you? And the other question is, will I have a heart attack before you decide? So here it is in the flesh, or more appropriately, the aluminum, the DJI RS4. Over here, the DJI RS3 Mini. I have owned this for quite some time now, and I will tell you a bit of the similarities between the two, then the differences, and then which one I think you should buy. I mean, you don't have to listen to me, you can just watch the footage and decide for yourself, but I am very knowledgeable after all. And I should also mention that DJI sent over the RS4 for the purpose of this review. I bought the RS3 Mini myself quite a while ago out of my own money. DJI doesn't get to see this video. It is not a sponsored video. Let's be honest, DJI is not going to watch this video. So let's dive into the similarities of these two gimbals, because if you are buying the base model configurations, they are going to operate functionally pretty much the same. They have the same modes in them. They're both aluminum made gimbals. That app, the Ronin app, which is a great app, when you have the virtual joystick, the Force Mobile, the panorama, I'm looking at the app right now, time lapse, track, gaming control, you can do all of the same things on the DJI RS3 Mini that you can on the RS4. Pan follow, pan tilt follow, FPV, sport mode, lock mode. It has that selfie mode where you hit the trigger 3 times and it turns around and looks at your gorgeous mug. Hit it twice more and it goes back. Has a trigger button on the front, has a programmable roll dial here. It has a joystick on the back, mode button, and also a record button. And both of these gimbals have Bluetooth technology, which is great because you can connect to your camera, and depending on your camera and lens setup, you have different functionality from that Bluetooth menu. And I think a big one for 2024 is both of these gimbals have the ability to do vertical video. So you like the TikToking and the booty popping, these gimbals are for you. The vertical video, it's not going anywhere. We all need to do it. Clients want it, people want it for their social media. So your gimbal, you're gonna want it to be able to do vertical video from now on. They do it in slightly different ways. With the RS3 Mini, you separate the base plate from the bottom arm, take off the bottom arm, put that base plate back onto the gimbal, and you are ready to go. With the RS4, it's a little more simple. The bottom arm actually comes apart. You can just unlock it, take it off right there, click it right back in a different spot, and then maybe rebalance it a little bit, and you are ready to go. And so you do have to rebalance these gimbals a little bit when you are going into vertical video. Sometimes the motors are strong enough to do it anyway, but it's always nice to rebalance. Oh, I should mention this little quick release plate I have for the RS3 Mini. This is the Falcam F38. I will leave links down below to make me stinking rich, but these things are great. I bought the arm that goes with the RS3 Mini so that it'll be quick and I'll be able to put this on all my other F38 products. This is also Arca Swiss compatible, this bottom plate, and I'm sure they will be making one soon for the RS4 because they've made them for all of the DJI gimbals. But I love these things because I can swap in and out of my tripods, no problem. I definitely don't have to rebalance anything. Just leave that base plate on there and I am ready to go. And I think both these gimbals are great at stabilizing, which is fantastic because they are stabilizers. That's their whole job. So they have to be good at that. The RS4 is going to be a little bit more smooth because it's a bigger, heavier gimbal, and your footage is just going to come out that much more smoothly. But it is really hard to tell since the updates of the RS3 Mini. It's really hard to tell any difference between the two when I am using it out in the field. So now I'm just walking with the two gimbals. Definitely starting to feel it on my forearm of the RS4. But normally you wouldn't be holding a gimbal in one hand the way I'm doing this. But still, it is notable how much lighter the RS3 Mini is compared to the RS4. And yes, I'm out of breath, all right? Because I did run for more than 6 seconds. Now we're just gonna walk, just walking nice and loosely. Walking loosely, seeing who's doing what. Walking nice and loosely. Here we go. Who is doing a better job? Pick up the pace. Now we're running. Now we are running. Who's doing a better job? We are running. Hey Ridley. Yeah, I'm doing a gimbal tests. Go get him. Oh, almost went down the hill. Really. And now let's talk about the differences between these two bad boys. And the first one is very obvious. It is the size and weight. This guy right here is a much bigger gimbal at 3.1 pounds compared to 1.87 pounds. Now you might think a pound and a little bit is not that much of a difference, but like when I was out in the park and I was trying to compare these two gimbals, just one-handing them, you really notice a big difference. I could carry this thing all day. After a while, I'm definitely going to want to use this with two hands. You should probably use it with two hands anyway, you know, for better technique, or use one of those extra handles for support. But there is no doubt about it. You definitely notice the weight difference between these two. This one is more of an enjoyable experience in terms of fatigue. But with this bigger, heavier gimbal comes a better payload capacity. 6.6 pounds versus 4.4 pounds. But I gotta say, 4.4 pounds is really impressive for the DJI RS3 Mini. I personally do not have any camera and lens combinations that exceed 4.4 pounds. I could put on an A7 IV and a G Master 24 to 70 G Master 2, and it still comes in under the 4.4 pounds that is the max payload for this guy. So I am really impressed with this. But if you do have cameras and lens combos that are more than 4.4 pounds, then obviously you have to go with the RS4. Now this is going to be a big one for a lot of people because the battery is actually detachable on the RS4. So for people who are doing long shoot times and they want to swap out the battery, you can do that, whereas this battery is fastened to the RS3 Mini. So you just have to charge it up. And so, you know, if something ever happens to the battery, it dies and you can't charge it again, maybe after a few years, you can buy a new one for this guy, but you won't be able to for this one right here. You also get a little longer runtime of this battery. You get 12 hours of runtime, and over here you get 10 hours. And also with the RS4, you can buy this high capacity battery. This gets you 29 hours of battery life. So let's say you're a marathon gimbaler, you know, you're trying to film for 29 straight hours, you can do it with this. It actually makes the gimbal a little more comfortable to hold too with two hands, this nice solid battery grip. And the RS4 of course has that cool feature they introduced with the RS3, where if you power it off, it just goes into a self-locking mode, makes it a lot easier to take it around during the day while you're using it without having to take your camera off. They also introduced a new feature, which is kind of cool, so that if you go into sleep mode with this particular gimbal, then it can just lock all of the motors like this and just keep it temporarily in this position, which is great. When I power this guy off, nothing happens. It just goes, you know, droopy floppy. And if it's balanced well, it is still going to sit properly. But like you see, this is what it is. So I have to manually lock these arms myself when I am in sleep mode or I'm powering off the gimbal. Not a huge deal, but it makes this much more convenient to use if you're turning it on and off. You can connect that fancy Raven Eye to the RS4, but you can't, unfortunately, to the RS3 Mini. There's a little slot under the bottom plate here of the RS4. You can plug in the Raven Eye, and then you can send that off to a monitor so somebody can view your footage on a different device, or you can enable that cool tracking mode so it can track things around. I wish the Raven Eye was available for this guy, but it is not. So if you want to use the Raven Eye with the tracking and sending it off to monitors, RS4. The RS3 Mini has one NATO port, so you can attach something like a briefcase handle to that, whereas the RS4 actually has two NATO ports, and one of those NATO ports is an RSA hot shoe port. So you can connect other peripherals, other accessories to the RS4 and have a more fleshed out system. Now there are a couple of extra switches on the RS4 that can make the gimbal a lot faster to use depending on how much you utilize these switches. But you have your pan follow, your pan tilt follow, and your FPV switch right there on the gimbal, so very quick to go in between those modes. There's also a joystick switch on the RS4, so you can switch it from the joystick that operates the gimbal as usual to a zoom function. So if you have zoom functionality in your lenses or in your camera, you can switch it to that and turn your joystick into a zoom rocker. Now both of these gimbals are great in their base model configurations when it comes to using autofocus lenses. However, if you plan to use manual focus or you want to use cinema lenses, then the RS4 is going to be better for you because you can get this right here. This is their follow focus system, and it comes with this base plate that replaces the base plate that is right here on this gimbal, and that's good because it already has a hole in it for the rail that comes with this right here. So you can set up your rig very quickly and use this for manually focusing, whereas the RS3 Mini really just set up for autofocus lenses, in my opinion. Another difference is the Teflon coating on the RS4. The arms are coated in Teflon, you know, that non-stick stuff for your pans. It helps the arms not to stick when you are trying to balance them. And I must say, this is the easiest gimbal I have ever balanced, especially with this little precision knob here on the base plate. I wish that was on all of the axes, and I also wish it was on the RS3 Mini. This is a really easy gimbal to balance, don't get me wrong. It's just this one makes it much more so with those slippery arms and that little precision dial. Lastly, we have the price. This one here starts at $549 USD. This is full price $369. Right now, I think it's on sale for $350. So there's quite a difference between the two. Currently, this is $200 more than this gimbal right here. So which gimbal might be right for you? Well, the first thing I'm going to say is that if you are doing paid work, paid gigs, you are probably better off with the RS4 because it has that higher payload. You can swap the battery out in case the shoot goes long and you don't have to stop, wait, and recharge it. It has those two NATO ports, so you can trick it out with more peripherals, have those two handles, walk around like a super professional. Get that cool follow focus system if you want to use manual lenses, cinema lenses, things like that. So if you want to shoot movies, documentaries, or you're getting paid doing weddings, things like that, I think the RS4 is the way to go. But if you are working for yourself, doing YouTube, content creation, Instagram, TikTok, things like that, the RS3 Mini is more than enough. And it is so lightweight and easy to use, compact. If you're someone who likes to travel a lot and you want to take a gimbal, I would much rather take this gimbal than this gimbal right here. And you certainly can use this gimbal for professional work as well. It doesn't have quite as many bells and whistles as this guy, but it is a great entry-level gimbal to start you to see whether or not you want to use a lot of gimbals and how much they play into your workflow. And after a while, if you realize that you use gimbals constantly, you can get the RS4 or the RS4 Pro. In fact, that's what you should do. Just buy all of the gimbals, travel gimbal, RS4, RS4 Pro, even though I don't have that one. I guess I should buy that one too. That one has the LiDAR system. Oh, I love that. With the DJI RS4 Pro, you can hook up that LiDAR system and get the autofocus on the cinema lenses. You can't do that on either of these two, which is too bad. But they are now selling a LiDAR system separately, so there is that. So that's what I would say. If I'm going anywhere for pro work, anywhere where someone is paying me, I will take the RS4. But for everything else, I am taking the RS3 Mini. So I use this one more because I work for myself more than I work for other people, and I utilize the RS3 Mini a lot. Anyway, thanks for watching this. Tell me down below which of these two gimbals interest you, and if neither, why? Let me know what does interest you. We'll have a nice little discussion about it. Thanks for watching this. We'll talk to you again soon. Okay, bye-bye.